UN Special Rapporteur on Indigenous Human Rights James Anaya said his 12-day fact-finding tour of Australia revealed that the Australian Aboriginal still suffers from entrenched racism. He condemns the Australian government's controversial intervention in remote Indigenous area ever since 2007.
Of particular concern is the Northern Territory emergency response, which by the government's own account is an extraordinary measure, especially in its income management regime, imposition of compulsory leases, and community-wide bans on alcohol consumption and pornography. These measures overtly discriminate against Aboriginal peoples, infringe their right of self-determination, and stigmatize already stigmatized communities.
His statements were not welcomed by all in Australia, with one politician calling his findings nonsense from an armchair critic.
I've gotten, since my statement yesterday on providing my preliminary observations on the situation in Australia, I've gotten, I don't know, maybe 70-something emails from people in Australia. Most of them not very admiring, I must say.
Australia's former Conservative government suspended its own anti-discrimination law so that it could ban alcohol and hardcore pornography in Aboriginal communities and restrict how Aborigines spend their welfare checks. The restrictions do not apply to Australians of other races.
I think it's a mistake to assume that Indigenous peoples, at least in the medium or longer term, are incapable of taking care of their homes, of taking care of the housing on their lands, of taking care of their lands. That is a mistaken assumption. What needs to happen is that efforts need to be made to empower Indigenous peoples to do that where there are deficiencies in that regard, not simply assume that that's not going to happen.
On August 27th, the government said it would set up a new national representative body to advise it on policies relating to Aborigines. Indigenous Affairs Minister Jenny Macklin said the government wants to establish the new body before the end of 2009. TITV Weekly.